From the engineers making racing helmets for F1 drivers, to the stonemasons turning boulders into Olympic curling stones. These are the people preserving athletic traditions and keeping billion-dollar sports industries running. This $5,000 racing helmet is being destroyed to ensure it's safe on race day. Bell helmets are used in the most dangerous motorsports, like Formula One. F1 alone has had 52 fatal crashes in its history, so every helmet has to be perfect. Aref Yazbek oversees the 500 workers at Bell's main factory in Bahrain. Its engineers have spent over 70 years trying to solve one problem: making helmets that are both comfortable and strong.
Weight and safety are two components that work against each other.
The first step is making the helmet's inner shell, one of the most important safety features.
It absorbs the energy in case of an impact.
Thousands of plastic beads are molded together to make a foam liner. It's the same liner that was used in one of Bell's first helmets back in 1957.
And when you put the liner and the face piece on the table like I'm doing, you can see already the shape of a helmet.
Next, they cut out the outer shell, which has to protect drivers from flying debris traveling at up to 155 miles per hour. It's mostly made of reinforced carbon fiber, the same material as the actual race car frame. An operator puts these soft pieces of carbon fiber inside a heated mold, where they're baked for half an hour.
It comes out like this. This is the HP77, the same shell used in Formula One.
Here, employees use a jigsaw to trim off excess carbon and drill over a dozen ventilation holes.
Perfect airflow that keeps your head cool. At the end of the day, in a race, you wear the helmet for 2 hours, so comfort is key.
Trimming with a jigsaw leaves sharp, jagged edges that need to be sanded down. Any small cracks or built-up resin in the shell are covered with a special putty. Next, they add paint primer. And finally, paint and vinyl stickers.
All the stickers that are seen on a helmet are made in-house. So from our logo to the model name on the helmet.
Once the helmet is fully dry, they spray it with several layers of clear coat to protect the paint. Replica helmets get the same treatment, like this miniature Lewis Hamilton one. The final assembly department is where workers add the finishing touches like fireproof fabric. Each car's cockpit can reach 140 degrees Fahrenheit because of the engine bolted onto it. That's the hottest part of the car because it burns fuel at over 4,700 degrees Fahrenheit. That's half as hot as the sun's surface. The fabric is made of Nomex, which is also used in race suits, gloves, and underwear. It helps these helmets withstand temperatures of nearly 1,500 degrees for at least 45 seconds, the standard for safety certification. These inserts are glued onto the liner to create the interior of the helmet. Then they screw on the visor and box it up for shipping. It takes a total of 2 weeks to build just one helmet, but Bell has the facility and manpower to make plenty.
Last year we produced more than 50,000 helmets.
1 out of every 100 helmets is plucked off the line for tests. Race car drivers are required to wear head restraints that anchor to the helmet. These protect their neck and skull during a crash. Those anchor points have to be strong. So Bell pulls them with metal chains to make sure they don't break. Another test measures the helmet's strength. Employees put a dummy head inside the helmet and lift it 15 feet into the air. Then, it crashes down onto a metal anvil. Sensors on the dummy measure how much the helmet protects the driver's head. The data from these tests helps Bell innovate. The company introduced the first full-face helmet in 1966 and the first fire retardant helmet in 1973.
Of course, we're a manufacturer, but honestly, we see ourselves more as a research and development company with manufacturing capacity and capabilities.
But with F1 drivers going through as many as 25 helmets in a season, building helmets quickly and efficiently will always be a priority.
Using rare granite from just one island in the world, experienced stonemasons turn these giant boulders into hundreds of uniform curling stones. But these aren't just any curling stones. They're the only ones allowed in the Olympic Games. A single stone certified for the Olympics costs over $600. That makes a full set of 16 stones worth $9,600. So how are Olympic curling stones made? And why are they so expensive? Since 2006, every curling stone used in the Olympic Winter Games has come from here. It's produced stones since 1851, but today there are just 10 people in the world who make them.
They love what they do. They're very passionate about it because they know that this particular block of granite they're working on that becomes a curling stone could be the stone that's thrown for the gold medal at the Olympic Games. It could be the stone that decides a world championship.
Every stone comes from one tiny island off the coast of Scotland. For over a century, masons have ventured to Ailsa Craig Island to harvest granite for curling stones. Until its lease expires in 2050, Case is the only company in the world with permission to harvest granite here. And for curling, Ailsa Craig's granite structure is the gold standard. But getting granite to the mainland is far from simple.
Well, the harvesting process is a logistical work of art, I think. There is nothing on the island, as you say. It's uninhabited. There's no water supply other than some running water from the rivers and streams on the island. There's no electricity supply, so we have to take absolutely everything with us.
Case uses two types of granite from the island to produce curling stones. First, there's blue hone granite, which makes up the layer that runs along the ice. Then common green is used for the part that strikes other stones.
This is Ailsa Craig common green granite, so this makes up the full body of the stone. You can also see this slightly lighter grayer colour granite inside, and this is Ailsa Craig blue hone.
The rock is densely constructed, thanks to how well its fine-grained crystals and the feldspar interlock. This makes the stone resilient. While other rocks might crack or splinter, Ailsa Craig granite stays intact amid cold temperatures and collisions. Most other rocks will have imperfections, like veins that cut through the stone. And while it's not free from weaknesses, there aren't many throughout Ailsa Craig rock. Weaknesses make it more likely a stone will fracture upon hard impact, something that would upend a curling game. Before Case can begin making stones, each rock is cut into slabs. But not all the granite the company harvests is suitable for a curling stone. Sometimes areas of a slab have small imperfections that could cause it to erode or impact the game.
It's generally because there's a flaw or a fissure or a crack or something in it.
This is where the eye of the masons comes in. Throughout the process, they assess the granite and confirm it satisfies Olympic requirements.
The slab thickness, we're looking for 145 millimeters, 14.5 centimeters thick. Then that gives us the ideal depth for coring, which then allows us to shape the stone while retaining the weight.
From the slab, Case marks only the best parts worth coring, which are the areas it'll eventually shape into stones.
We've gone to a lot of time and effort to bring this resource from an island over to the mainland, that we want to make the most effective use out of it. We can get boulders off the island that can be in the region of 5 to 7 tons. They will yield way more than 5 or 6 cheeses per ton. But if we average it out across a whole harvest, then if we get around 6 cheeses per ton, we're doing pretty well.
They call them cheeses, for no clear reason other than...
I suppose in one respect they maybe look like a Baby Bell cheese or something like that. I've never really thought about it too deeply, to be honest.
While the process today largely depends on machines, it needs experienced craftspeople to see each stage through.
The cutting process or the coring process is a skill or an art in itself. So while it's semi-automatic in terms of feeding itself in, the speed is manually controlled, and that's where the skill of the operator comes in.
After each cheese has been cored, masons chip away the excess stone around the corners and prepare it for shaping. The International Olympic Committee determines the size, shape, and weight of each stone for the games. Before the stone reaches its final shape, masons fit the blue hone granite into the common green body. The stone itself weighs 40 pounds, plus another pound for the handle. After it reaches its final form, it's time to polish it. Each stone needs to be uniform in weight, size, and running surface. The running surface on the bottom determines how much the stone curls. To curl, there needs to be friction between the ice and the stone. That roughness is achieved by the experienced hand of a mason. Kays stores granite over time, returning to Ailsa Craig about once a decade. Other producers harvest granite from the Trevor Quarry in Wales. Kays once sourced granite from Trevor too, but Mark says quality control issues turned it away. And it didn't hurt that the World Curling Federation preferred Ailsa Craig stones.
They found that the Kays stones with the insert, the blue hone insert, were the best because they also discovered that having a curling stone that's not got a blue hone insert will pit. It has a certain porosity, it will pull in water, and water and ice will then freeze. When water freezes, it expands, leads to the detriment or the damage to the stone.
While curling has recently skyrocketed in popularity, demand for stones has fluctuated since the game began. Curling is believed to have started in Scotland, but today, Canada is the most successful team in the history of curling. Curling here goes back to the late 19th century.
A curling stone gets some last-minute polishing.
When many of the Scots who immigrated to Canada brought the game with them. By the 50s, Canada was building hundreds of curling rinks. Now retired, Jimmy Wiley worked at Kays during this period and saw the company thrive before demand dropped again.
When all of these new ice rinks in Canada were satisfied, the demand fell off dramatically. So we went from 25, 30 people down to about between 5 and 10 people.
A major component that's kept the game and Kays alive today, the Winter Olympics.
When curling was put back into the Olympics, it was great. It was a momentous moment in terms of curling stone manufacture because it suddenly opened curling up to the world. In 1998, there was only 25 countries in the world that were in any way involved in curling, and now 20 years later, that's almost tripled.
As of 2022, 67 countries compete in curling. Naturally, that's created an uptick in demand for stones, which has carried over into their price.
We have increased our sales, which is really, really good news. Having said that, we've also increased our costs because we'll have to go back for granite more frequently and to satisfy the demand.
In 2000, Kays harvested about 1,500 metric tons of common green and about 300 metric tons of blue hone. 13 years later, it took 2,500 metric tons of common green and 500 metric tons of blue hone. Fortunately for the growing interest in the sport, and for the only supplier of Olympic curling stones, supply isn't a problem.
The last harvest in November 2020, we took less than 0.01% of the island. So we're scratching the surface. The whole island is made of granite. We're not making that big a dent in it.
This is the NFL for ballet. It's no different than like a football player, except we have to look really pretty while we're doing it. So.
The Nutcracker is the New York City Ballet's Super Bowl, bringing in about $20 million per season. Rehearsals start only 2 weeks before opening night.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We have 6 weeks of Nutcracker shows.
That means ballerinas like Grace Scheffel will likely break in a new pair of shoes every single day during the show's run.
It's honestly the rehearsals during the day that kill your shoes. We typically run it at least 2 or 3 times per rehearsal. When you think about the idea of the amount of things that we do on our toes, it's not something that humans are supposed to do.
By the end of a rehearsal, and only 2 wears, this is what Grace's shoe looks like.
So the fabric on the tip of the box usually goes first, and then I can see kind of the wear and the dirt and the rosin kind of building up on the inside of the shoe.
The New York City Ballet spends nearly $1 million a year buying pointe shoes for its dancers. And Daniel Wong is the only one keeping track of them all.
Right now I have about 9,000 pairs of shoes in this room.
A pointe shoe has 3 main sections: the box, the vamp, and the shank, also known as the sole. The box is what makes a pointe shoe, well, a pointe shoe. It helps create the illusion of a dancer being on the very tip of their toes.
This has a platform right here that the dancer can stand on.
The vamp covers and supports the toes as they bend.
The measurement has to be very precise so that it doesn't get in the way.
The shank supports the dancer's arch while on point.
Strength of the shank can be different depending on what the dancer wants. So really every single piece of the shoe can be customized.
While a dancer is on point, the pressure on their feet and ankles feels like 12 times their weight. So if the fit of the shoe is even a little bit off, it could be dangerous.
You can injure yourself if you're not wearing the right shoe. You can injure yourself if a shoe is too soft for your foot. So it's just important to find, a shoe that fits you really well. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
Dancers have preferences. My job is to make sure that they have shoes that they're comfortable with, but also don't get them injured.
Which one should we start with?
We're gonna do a 4.5 heel pin. This is a heel secure.
I wouldn't mind raising it. I wouldn't say no to that.
Okay. Wow.
See, I like that. That's so much
Sometimes
more
they're
comfortable.
okay. Go up.
Finding the perfect fit can take years, and dancers go through many trial pairs before landing on the right one.
It's so
Oh
much.
my god, that's so much better.
It's so much better, and I feel better in them. You can kind of see there's like a 90-degree angle. I don't know how to show it, but there's like a 90-degree angle. That's like one of the customizations that I really like, just because standing on it and then rolling up to point feels a lot better. I've already had a few customs come in with these specs, meaning like the size and how short I wanted it.
Which one is that?
This is without cutting it. This is the 4.5.
The 4.5,
But this trial pair still isn't perfect.
if I can do this, it's a little bit too loose. She'll be able to wear them, but
It's just
they're
more
not the
comfortable.
best. It's not the best fit.
While Grace waits for her customs, she has to modify her trial shoes on her own.
Everyone's feet are different, so everybody kind of has a unique thing that they do to their shoes.
You could find all sorts of tools in Grace's dance bag.
Rubbing alcohol, this is to break in the shoes. This is jet glue, basically, so we put this in the tips of our shoes to keep the shoes hard. This is what makes it all possible. And I go through this quite quickly.
Grace can spend 30 minutes breaking in her shoes.
Destroy them, basically. To everybody else, it looks like we're destroying them. I'll stick the scissors in and then just rip it apart. And then I cut it. So I hold I put my heel down and then, there we go. That was a pretty good pop.
Scraping the bottom of the pointe shoes makes them less slippery.
But even though it's a lot to do, this is what works best for me. That is what a new pair of shoes kind of looks like. The boots are ready. I do feel a little bit bad because I know they work so hard on them. So, yeah.
The New York City Ballet buys all its shoes from Fried of London, one of the first companies to customize shoes to dancers' feet back in 1929.
Mr. Fried had been a pointe shoemaker for another company, and he wasn't very satisfied with how the shoes were being produced. Before Mr. Freed, the point shoe was very much one size, one width. So a dancer had to squeeze their foot into it. And he came up with this concept, which seems so normal today, of making different width fittings.
They all start with stapling a leather sole to a mold.
And this is where the consistency comes into it, to make sure they're all the same.
Shoemakers like Alan Doherty make custom shoes for specific dancers. He's currently assigned to more than 600 ballerinas.
He is really one of our most popular makers.
But the factory only has 24 shoemakers who make customs, and they supply some of the largest ballet companies in the world, including the Royal Ballet in London, the American Ballet Theatre, and the Paris Opera Ballet.
We are constantly playing catch up. Many of our point shoe makers, their work schedule is booked right through to the end of 2026. When a maker retires, we start planning nearly 2 years in advance, where we start to look at what other makers are similar in their characteristic of shoe, and looking at how we can transfer and move dancers from one maker to the other.
Still, Freed manages to pump out about 2,500 pairs a week. Most of the process is done by hand.
Now here comes the messy bit.
The founder of the company, Friedrich Freed himself, created the paste that makes up the box, which the company keeps secret.
It's basically flour, water, and a few secret ingredients, which I'm not allowed to tell. It's like putting your hand in porridge.
The paste is what makes the shoes so malleable, adapting to the exact shape of a dancer's foot. But it's also why they wear out so quickly. Alan can make 34 pairs in a single day.
Everyone makes different amounts. Some make 28, some make 30, some make 32, other 34s, one does 41.
Putting in the pleats is the hardest and most crucial step.
What this consists of is twist and pull. It's what gives them the strength, the pleats. We try and be precise as best we can. It is a handmade job, so we can't be perfect all the time. Now they're ready for stitching.
Sewing and stitching are the only steps where they use machines.
Most of our competitors have now closed their home or native production and moved offshore and gone into a much more automated, sort of machine-made approach. But we still are true to the beginning idea, which is hand-making shoes, bespoking shoes, giving the dancer what they need.
But point shoes haven't always been made the same way. When ballet started in 15th century Italy, dancers wore shoes with heels. But in the 1730s, Marie Camagot, a dancer with the Paris Opera Ballet, removed them so she could move more freely. Then, in 1796, the French dancer and choreographer Charles Didelot invented a wire rigging system that lifted dancers to make it seem like they were floating on the tips of their toes. For decades afterwards, dancers tried to create the same effect without wires. At first, they stuffed their soft slippers with wool and used their own strength to stand on their toes. In the late 19th century, Italian shoemakers added a toe box to help support the dancer's weight. And in the 1900s, the Russian ballet dancer Anna Pavlova added stiff leather shanks to support the bottom of her feet. By the 1920s, her design had become standardized as the modern point shoe. But some point shoemakers say it's time to update the century-old design.
Basketball players aren't wearing Converse anymore. Tennis players are not using wooden tennis rackets. Ballet dancers are the most elite athletes of all. Shouldn't they benefit from modern materials?
Eliza Minden started working on a modern design because of her firsthand experience as a ballet dancer.
When I was finally allowed to get my first pair of point shoes, I was so disappointed at how painful they were. And that put the idea in my mind that it shouldn't have to be this painful.
Now her company, Gaynor Minden in New York City, says it sells shoes that can last 5 times longer than traditional ones.
So in a traditionally made shoe, the toe box, which is part of the support, is made of some kind of paper product. Gaynor Minden has a synthetic shank, midsole, and toe box unit. This is a thermoplastic elastomeric. This is the kind of material that you find in scuba fins. It will not break. So you can flex it like this over and over and over again, and it won't break, it won't weaken, it basically won't change. The sock liner is very resilient, it never bottoms out, and it's extremely comfortable. We also use pour-on here under the heel, which makes it much more comfortable. So when you land from a jump, your heel comes down, you're not getting the edge of the shank digging into your heel.
Start your footing. Come into the boutique here. You can take a seat here. Okay. Get comfortable. Your right foot into here.
Dancers get fit in a similar way they would for traditional shoes. And Gaynor Minden offers dozens of customizations.
So the shoes, I have been wearing them since February, so about 8 months now. Of course, I have other shoes that I rotate them with, but they will last you a while, which is great.
And because the shoes have flexible material and no pleats, dancers don't have to break them in.
You don't really have to do a lot of work, just maybe like sew your ribbons and elastics and you're good to go.
There was a time when Gaynor Mindens were called cheater shoes because dancers felt that they allowed you to just park up there on point and not engage your muscles and use them correctly. Any shoe that is too stiff can be a cheater shoe. Doesn't matter what it's made of.
Today, Gaynor Minden provides shoes for dancers at over 200 ballet companies around the world. But Eliza says that changing minds in the industry is still an uphill battle.
It wasn't until around the year 2000 was when we began to really grow, and we expanded internationally a great deal. Ballet is very, very traditional. I think dancers were skeptical of anything that offered to make their job easier. We have to win over our customers one at a time.
But for Grace, Freed's shoes still set the standard.
For me, it's the best shoe to dance in. They're really pretty and they're not bulky. They're a small shoe that just is like a little addition to your foot. I like that we have cardboard in ours just because the shank bends more and it molds to your feet more. Everybody does so many different things, I feel like. It would be hard to create a modernized version that fits everybody's taste. For the type of dancing we do, every single step is thought about and is done and is rolled through by your feet. So Freed's really allow us to do that.
Most other point shoe companies do customizations, but maybe not to the degree that Freed does. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the dancer and what makes her perform her best.
They're not meant to be these like super comfortable shoes. They're meant to help you dance on your toes. They've got to be a little bit uncomfortable in order for you to do that. It's painful, but it's also, you get used to it.
For the night of the performance, point shoes shouldn't only be comfortable, they also need to look the part. And that's Tim Foster's job.
Okay.
If I could possibly.
Sure. Awesome. Golden. See, this is what happens all the time. They'll be about 20 minutes. Okay, perfect. They'll be up here. I get all kinds of little notes. This one is, hi, Tim. May I have these dyed a light flesh tone? Thanks, Gabby. A yellow marzipan, please, for both shoes, Lauren Colette. So they leave me notes and tell me what they need.
Some of the shoes need to be dyed to match a dancer's skin tone. Others are painted to match their costumes. During Nutcracker season, Tim paints over 100 pairs in a week.
Many times I'll get them a day ahead of time. There's a few times where they come the last minute, but it's, if I'm available, we just do it and they take them and run. Beautiful. Yes.
What would happen if it wasn't dry in time?
It's always dry in time. It has to be dry in time.
You can't just bring your shoes up 30 minutes before the show and expect that they're ready in time. You have to really think about, okay, I need shoes for this. I am dancing this, and this week. I have to make sure I have at least 2 pairs or something.
Before showtime, Grace does a final break-in to make sure her shoes are ready.
When you bang it on the wall, you're really just softening the bottom of it so that it's not as loud when you dance on stage.
For Grace, these shoes have helped her reach a dream she's had since she was a child.
At my 5th grade graduation, there's a video of me saying, in the future, I'm going to be a professional ballet dancer with the New York City Ballet. And it happened, and I'm very lucky and happy that it did happen. Am I a button at all in the back? I thought I heard you. No, you're fine. Thank you. Once we're in our costumes, you see everybody backstage just warming up their feet, making sure that they feel super comfortable in their shoes, and that they look good. It's just making sure that you can do what you need to do in that pair of shoes. There's nowhere else in the world I'd ever want to be. The dream is to be a principal. But I feel like already being here, I've accomplished one of my dreams, which is being in the company. I would like to make people feel something when they watch me. Because I remember watching people when I was younger and being like, oh my gosh, I want to make people feel like that. It's such a beautiful art form, but it's such an athletic art form too.
Go ahead, hit it.
Alfie started making sticks from hickory trees with his father back in 1961.
We didn't have any money to buy one. My dad said, so let's make our own. It was trial and error right from the start.
He used to chop and saw them on his own. But nowadays, his apprentice, Parker Booth, does most of the heavy work. They set the rails to dry for a month before cutting them down to size. When we filmed with Alfie in April, he was feeling strong enough to run the bandsaw on his own. But days like this are rare. Last year, he could barely walk.
So I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't see one lacrosse game last year. Not one. Couldn't hold my head up long enough to watch a game.
Today, he's grateful for every minute he spends here. Evening the wood is crucial for the perfect bend later. This is the only time Alfie needs a measuring tool.
I use calipers. I know I'm cheating.
He spends about 10 minutes perfecting the thickness. Alfie's been carving since he was 5 years old.
I got my start with wood with my grandmother. She was a basket maker. The artistic thing was in her, it was in me, it was in my father, it was in all of us in the family.
Meanwhile, Parker heats their steamer to over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Alfie's had it since the 1960s. The sticks cook for up to 40 minutes, until the wood softens. Alfie tests the wood before bending, because it could easily break if it's over or under steamed. If it's still stiff, it goes back in the steamer.
Couple minutes, get it back in there like that.
But when it bounces, he knows it's ready. The bark holds the fibers together, keeping the wood from breaking. Today, Alfie needs Parker's help to bend the wood. But he did it on his own for decades, at times with just one arm.
I like to take a piece of hickory log and turn it into a good stick. I like to carve and I like to work with the wood.
At the Nedro Onondaga Indian Reservation, Alfie Jacks and his father Lou Jacks make and sell lacrosse sticks.
Onondaga is one of 6 nations in the Haudenosaunee Confederacy.
which the French dubbed the Iroquois.
A lot of people here are really, really proud to be Indian. And the Onondagas are a sovereign nation, so we'd rather be all on our own.
Alfie's business took off in 1968 after a nearby stick factory burned down, leaving him and his dad as top producers. They carved 1,000 sticks a month. Business slowed down in the 1970s when plastic and aluminum sticks started to replace wood. Alfie had to take other jobs, but he kept running the business in his free time.
Well, that sounded good, didn't it, Park? Yeah. It's kind of like an obligation to our people, to our culture, to the world of lacrosse.
Native people began playing the sport as a spiritual and social activity. Competitions had hundreds of players and could last days. It was also a way to prepare young men for battle and settle disputes. A missionary in the 1600s renamed the game after the French word for a bishop's staff, lacrosse. European settlers started playing in the 1800s with limited team sizes. And in 1868, the National Lacrosse Association of Canada effectively barred Indigenous players from competing. In the US, lacrosse soon became popular among middle and upper-class university students. Today, the US and Canada have dozens of pro teams, and 85 countries compete in international tournaments. But wooden sticks are rare. Alfie stayed in business by tailoring his sticks to each player. By 2004, he finally had enough customers to work full-time in his shop again.
I'll make one heavy and they'll make one light. You gotta understand, the players are all different too. They all like different things.
While the wood is still hot from the steamer, Alfie carves off a section of bark where another bend will go. He marks the date with a pencil and stores it for the wood to compress.
Okay.
6 months later, the sticks go back in the steamer to prepare for a second bend. Alfie and Parker push them into a rack, where blocks will hold the bend for 2 weeks. Alfie still uses the holder his father made out of scrap wood in the late 60s. The same goes for his carving bench. Carving the contours is Alfie's favorite part.
One of those things you do on a snowy Syracuse day. You're in here nice and warm, you're making chips, playing some blues music. It's a pretty good feeling. There's worse things you could do, I guess.
Alfie measures by eye and touch.
After 80,000 sticks, it's like you kind of know exactly how much to take off, how much you're leaving.
He uses antique draw shaves that were used to make barrels. He pulls the knife in the direction of the wood's grain to keep it strong.
There we go. We got one. All right. I like it.
Without any markings or template, he drills about 20 holes around the head. He spends about 10 minutes sanding the edges.
And I say there's a piece of wood, there's a cross stick in there, and you just have to find it.
Then he finishes rounding the corners with a sanding block. Alfie designed his logo when he was in the 4th grade.
I thought, if I had my own symbol, then they would know that it's not Al Jones. You know, it's Alfred Jock.
Alfie and his father developed their own method for stringing the pocket in the 60s.
We kind of learned together because neither of us had ever done it before. Nobody would teach us how. It was like a big secret. They would not teach us anything.
He uses nylon, leather, and rawhide cord, which he makes himself, to string the pocket. Lacrosse sticks used to be netted entirely with rawhide. So this is Alfie's way of honoring the past.
All of these wooden sticks, they're all a little bit different. They have their own character, their own quality, their own way of shooting.
Alfie has been making about 200 lacrosse sticks a year and selling them for $350 a piece. But he had to stop production to treat stage 4 cancer in 2022.
By August, it was real bad. It was real bad. So I came pretty close.
That year, he only made 6 sticks.
And that's not an income, you know, so I didn't make any money.
But his community hasn't let him face it alone.
Once again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and supporting the Stick Makers Tournament, benefit for Alfie Jocks.
Players from all 6 Haudenosaunee nations raised money for Alfie with a lacrosse tournament in April.
Alfie Jocks has become synonymous with the traditional lessons of wooden stick making, his dedication to the game of native origins, now recognized and played throughout the world. So once again, let's hear it for Alfie Jocks.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Good to see a lot of Woodies out there. Good to see all the good lacrosse. Thanks for coming. No way on.
Oh.
How you doing, man? How you doing?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice hat. All right.
This is the first game Alfie has seen in over a year. And it feels even more special because he's known many of the players for decades. Alfie played as a forward and a goalie in the 1960s and 70s. Back then, his father coached the local Onondaga team. Alfie followed in his father's footsteps and became a coach in the 2000s.
When guys want to hang their heads, he was always that guy to pick us up and understand why we're playing the game and not get discouraged.
About 100 players made it to the tournament to raise money for Alfie and thank him for his work.
Everybody wants the Alfie stick because they know the medicine that Alfie brings to the game.
Wooden sticks can give players more power in their throw and help play tougher defense. But they're more difficult to maneuver and can weigh 4 times as much as titanium or carbon fiber sticks.
I didn't want it. Way to think, kid. Way to move that goalie.
Some leagues and associations have been trying to ban them in hopes of reducing injuries.
You need to practice with it more. Stop giving it the bad name where they want to try to take the stick that started the game out of the game, which doesn't make any sense to me.
And although even most Indigenous players choose metal and plastic for their professional careers, they cherish their wooden sticks and consider them irreplaceable. Many still bring their wooden sticks to the bench for every game.
There's a lot to be said for the connection that happens when you pick up that stick. It's almost like a jolt of lightning. You feel it.
Of course, the world evolves, and the biggest thing is carrying the principles and carrying that tradition behind it.
It's good to be out there with the people. And when I'm surrounded by like hundreds of lacrosse players, you know, that's where I want to be. That's me. That's my life.
Yep. Hell yeah. Let's bring it in. Let's go, Red Hawks. Lead us all.
1, 2, 3.
The day after the tournament, Alfie was back at the workshop with Parker and his sons.
Put the wedge in up there. Hit it, hit it, hit it. There you go. Nice. Old Indian corn pounder.
His final touch is a purple throwing string, a sacred color for his people, and a signature of his sticks. When we met Alfie, he was working on the last one he would ever make.
Nice, beautiful stick. How's that, huh? I love doing this.
And even in his toughest moments, Alfie always found a way to keep going forward.
It was like when you're in a lacrosse game and it's overtime, it's tied, that guy's running to the goal and you got to catch him. And you got nothing left in the tank, but you catch him. It's kind of like that, you know? Just don't give up. Dig deep.
Soon after we filmed with him, he again began feeling too weak to work. Alfie Jacques died on June 14th, 2023. He was buried at Onondaga with his lacrosse stick in hand.
Just one Kentucky Derby horse can cost over $2 million. And it takes a lot more money to get them ready for the big race.
They say no foot, no horse. That's what they say.
But there are tiny odds this horse, Mystic Dan, will actually win.
You're always hopeful when you have a baby that maybe it could be the one.
And there's another race going on behind the scenes. Thousands of people are hustling to get the century-old track at Churchill Downs ready for Derby Day. From the gardeners,
I want the Kentucky Derby Winner's Circle to be extra beautiful on Derby Day,
to the chefs feeding an audience so large it could fill 7 Super Bowl stadiums.
We literally have schedules minute by minute by minute.
Honestly, I wish there was more than 24 hours in a day.
So how do all the staff set the stage for the largest horse race in the US? And what does it take to win? Sherilyn Gassaway and her family are part owners of Mystic Dan.
I know what you want. Yes, he loves his peppermints.
This is Cheryl's first Derby race. Mystic Dan has just one chance of winning in his entire lifetime. All horses running in the Kentucky Derby must be 3 years old, not 1 year older or younger. They aren't fully mature at that age, which adds uncertainty and makes betting more exciting.
He's got this beautiful stripe down his face, and I love that because I can see him when he's running. I can kind of pick him out of a group and know it's him.
Sherilyn has bet on Mystic since he was a baby.
My husband thinks that horses, once they smell you and know you, that they know you forever, and I kind of seem to feel like that's true too.
She's a part owner of his mother and helped pay $10,000 to mate her with a horse that won the Breeders' Cup, one of the biggest horse races in the world.
There's about 10,000 colts born a year, and 20 of those get to be in the Kentucky Derby. So it is a dream of a lifetime.
If Mystic wins, the prize is $3.1 million, and Sherilyn would split 80% of it with the other owners.
If you win on Saturday, you'll get the whole bag.
But Sherilyn says for her family, it's not really about the money.
They're like my babies. I really want to take care of them. That's the most important thing to me.
Brian Hernandez Jr. will ride Mystic Dan in 3 days. He could take 6% of the purse.
It's the pinnacle of our sport, you know, it's what we all want to do. So to win the Derby is, it's a feeling that I can't describe because I've never done it.
Brian has been training with Mystic every day for the past year. Today, he's taking Mystic for his morning workout on the Churchill Downs track. Mystic can go as fast as 37 miles per hour. Most horses don't run the entire 1.25 mile long track at full speed when they train because it's so exhausting. They usually sprint in shorter intervals. The dirt track makes the Derby especially hard to run. Horses' feet sink, increasing the risks of an ankle twist.
Do you ever get scared out there?
No, we've been doing it so long, this is like second nature to us. I'm more scared going out snow skiing than I am getting on the back of a racehorse.
Only 20 horses make it into the Kentucky Derby. They have to earn enough points in qualifying races. Mystic Dan got the 18th spot. After competing in 3, which cost his owners $24,000 to enter.
They say it's the road to the Kentucky Derby. It is.
Entering the Derby itself costs another $50,000 in fees.
Anytime anybody says, "Ooh, I wish I could buy a racehorse," I'm like, well, buying the horse is not the part. It's really the training every month. So with all the transportation bills and vet bills and all that stuff, I mean, it can be $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
Brian hands Mystic Dan off to this guy, the hot walker, who cools him down.
These horses, they need care 24 hours a day, so these guys have to sit out here and watch over them.
They'll lap around the barn for about 30 minutes. If horses don't cool down, their legs could cramp up, damaging their muscles.
He's one of those rare type of horses that he's a people pleaser. He wants to please you and do whatever you ask him to do.
Kenny McPeak is Mystic's trainer, and he's confident he can take first place. Kenny has trained 10 Derby horses throughout his career, but has never won. He gets 10% of the purse if Mystic wins. And he'll use some of it to pay bonuses to his staff.
You've got to have an exceptionally talented horse. He's very quiet. Nothing disturbs him. You could set off a bomb in between his legs and he wouldn't know.
In the months leading up to the race, Kenny plans out every hour of Mystic's day.
Everything has to be choreographed every day. Organizing grooms, hot walkers, riders, assistants, jockeys. Some horses really like repetition, and they like to know what they're doing every day and what time. It's kind of like people.
But they don't always enjoy bath time.
How do you calm him down when he gets crazy?
Like talk to the horse, like, oh, baby, easy, baby, you know.
Grooms like Henry bathe the horses after morning runs. He washes the same 4 every day. If one of them wins, he could make $30,000.
How would you feel knowing that a horse you've been washing wins?
Well, nothing normal, you know. Maybe one day I get a one.
Grooms typically make about $20 an hour. The shampoo they're using can cost about 3 times that. The conditioner, $180. Plus, tack on another $80 for shine-enhancing moisturizer. From their heads down to their hoofs. Nothing that touches these horses is cheap. Including their uniforms, like this bit and the bridle.
It's probably like a $200 and something bridle.
Fancier ones can cost over $600. Then you have saddles, whose prices range from hundreds to thousands of dollars. But most important of all are their shoes.
There are all sorts of different types of shoes.
Zane Bays is a 4th-generation farrier, or shoer at Churchill Downs.
Normally shoeing a horse like this is going to be in the $200 range. And blue ones are going to cost you anywhere from $400 to $500 probably.
Just one of its 4 shoes can get auctioned off for over $80,000 if a horse wins. Horses' hoofs are essentially layers of keratin that don't stop growing.
Like the tip of your fingernail that you would go, you know, like with a pair of fingernail clippers. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to take that and nip that off of there. I'm looking for flat and balanced.
Farriers change horses' shoes every 4 to 5 weeks. Most of them are made of aluminum, with a steel insert to reinforce the toe.
This horse has a little bit of bruising in that foot. But by putting that shoe on there, it's going to protect the bottom of that foot. And most of that bruising will subside by the next time we shoe him.
Nails lock the shoe in place.
I'm basically tying his shoe nice and snug. I have to pay attention to his mannerisms. Some of them can be just downright mean. So you kind of have to be in tune with that. They are, 1,200-pound animals. If I do my job correctly, they can do their job. And on to the next appointment.
Back in the barn, Mystic Dan is almost ready for his morning nap. That's when his groom, Raphael, takes over. Everyone here calls him Chico. He spends about an hour bandaging Mystic Dan.
We gotta take care about their legs because if they kick or something like that, they get the cut, they get the infection, and that's what we had to put bandage on every day.
Wrapping horses' legs also supports their tendons during intense workouts.
Just feeling something special. See, this is an easy horse to work with him. He's so sweet. He never bothers. He just like he is now. He never is moving, never trying to bite, never kicking. Yeah, he's a nice horse, sweet horse.
Chico is originally from Mexico and has been working here for 16 years.
That's the groom's dream, to have a horse in the Kentucky Derby. That's why we work.
Routines like this are essential to lower their chances of getting hurt. In 2023, 12 horses were euthanized after suffering injuries on or near the track. Churchill Downs says there were multiple causes for those injuries, and they do everything to minimize risks. They have since updated their safety protocols, including more frequent vet checkups and additional track maintenance. The Kentucky Derby is the longest continuously run sporting event in U.S. history. A prominent American businessman, Meriwether Lewis Clark Jr., built the track 150 years ago to showcase Kentucky's horse breeding industry. The event was modeled after British races. Spectators were socialites who wore hats to display their social standing.
And they're off! 15 cracked thoroughbreds in the 68th running of the Mint Julep Classic.
Since the first Derby in 1875, horses have raced here every year, even during World War I. World War II,
Churchill Downs announces a $50,000 war bond purchase.
And the global pandemic.
Shutout leads them home, winner by more than 2 lengths. Shutout earns more than $64,000, a record Derby purse.
One of the oldest traditions is this ring of flowers that adorns the winner's circle.
These guys will pot those up.
Matt Bizzell is in charge of growing those, and all other flowers that adorn the event, at Churchill Downs' very own greenhouse.
We grew about 800 of these. These go in the Kentucky Derby Winner's Circle. For as long as we have pictures going back there, it's been red geraniums or red begonias in there.
He's been running this place for the past 15 years, but he still gets nervous before Derby Day.
I wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning and start worrying about work this time of year.
In total, the gardening crew grows about 20,000 annuals. These plants will die at the end of the year, and they aren't cheap.
That might be $7 or $8, and you take that times 20,000. It is a lot of money that we have in this greenhouse.
But there's no guarantee they'll even last through Derby week. He says up to 5,000 get trampled on race day.
You'll see people sitting on the edge of those pots, so a lot of those pots will have broken flowers in them.
How do you feel when you see that?
It is aggravating, but it has happened so much over the years that I think I'm used to it. So it doesn't do any good to yell at people on Derby Day, so.
Lavish menus are also a big part of the Derby. And behind the scenes, a team of cooks is racing against the clock.
Each day has about 40 different menus track-wide.
Chef Robert Lopez runs a kitchen of 100 executive chefs and 1,500 supporting staff. That's not a lot of people, considering they're serving 400,000 guests in under a week. So that's 7 Super Bowls worth of food.
We bring in chefs from all over the country.
The team has to stay relatively small because they're working in tight quarters. They're ordering 10,000 pounds of smoked brisket and thousands of chicken breasts from local farms, and 1,000 pounds of cheese. Most of it arrives just days before the Derby in about 1,100 semi-trucks. Some of it gets here on race day at about 4 a.m.
So how do you keep yourself going through that?
Lots of caffeine.
And then there are the drinks. The mint juleps are the best seller. They bring in about $2.5 million in sales.
We're doing 1,000 pounds of mint, more than 20,000 bottles of bourbon.
This is Brandon Fullen. He oversees all the drink orders.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of cans of Coca-Cola. We're going to be going through pallets of water every hour all across the track.
Could you give me an idea of the number of bottles?
I couldn't possibly.
Everything leads up to this one moment. This year, more than 155,000 people crammed into Churchill Downs to watch the Run for the Roses live. Worldwide, people bet more than $320 million on the race, surpassing last year's record by over $30 million. No matter how much homework bettors do, there's always a little luck involved.
Honestly, you know, you can go, I want to pick this stallion and I want to pick this person, we're going to produce the best horse. But you know, we're not in control of that. I just have faith that he's going to do really well, and so just trusting in that.
We weren't allowed to film the race. Mystic had a good start in lane 3. He lost the lead and ran in the middle of the pack for most of the race. Until he came around the bend and took the lead. The finish was so close, it was impossible to tell who won at first. But the final photo confirmed Mystic Dan won by the length of his nose. Earning his team a record-breaking $3.1 million of the total purse.
It's so special. It really is special to see him make it here. Because we've had him since he was a baby, that's just even more special.
As for Mystic Dan, he got the whole bag of peppermints.
This factory produces 160,000 footballs per month. Bola Gema Pakistan is in Sialkot, a city that produces most of the world's footballs, nearly 70%. And even as team sports have come to a standstill during the pandemic, these manufacturers kept business going.
हम पिछले 100 साल की इंडस्ट्री को लेके आगे चल रही हैं, जिसकी वजह से हमारी परफेक्शन ऑफ स्किल्स जो हैं वो बहुत ज़बरदस्त हैं.
For 13 years, Wasim Shahbaz Lodhi has been running this factory. It all starts at this machine, which creates sheets out of hot rubber. They are cut into a round shape and form the bladder or inner lining of a football. Next, the bladders are inflated and placed into metal steam machines where they bake for a few minutes, hardening the rubber. In another part of the factory, workers cut patches for the ball's external shell. Leather was once used to make the outer surface, but it can soak up water, so factories now use a synthetic substitute. Each ball is made of 20 hexagons and 12 pentagons, and there are several ways of putting them together.
जो ट्रेडिशनल तरीका है वो हैंड स्टिच, जो बहुत पुराना फुटबॉल तैयारी का तरीका है, जो कि हाथ की सिलाई से बनता है, और ये तकरीबन 100 साल पुरानी इंडस्ट्री हो चुकी है पाकिस्तान में. और एक वक्त था कि हैंड स्टिच का बॉल पूरी दुनिया में बहुत पॉपुलर था.
But that process is slow and costly. which is why Bola Gema has changed with the times.
और अब ट्रेनिंग और जो लोअर एंड के बॉल्स हैं वो मशीन स्टिच में बनते हैं और जो हायर एंड बॉल हैं वो थर्मो बॉन्डेड के मैकेनिज़्म पे तैयार होते हैं जिसमें कि बॉल में सिलाई नहीं होती और वो पूरा बॉल बॉन्ड किया जाता है मुख्तलिफ जदीद मशीनों को इस्तेमाल करके.
Saida Bibi works on the thermal bonded balls. It's like putting a puzzle together. She refers to a diagram and then joins the different pieces by hand using a special glue. Next, the ball is placed in here and the inner lining is bonded on.
ये जो है ना मेरे पास आ गया शेल बन के, दोनों शेल आ गए हैं जो इसके अपोजिट दोनों को जो है ना मैंने मशीन के अंदर एडजस्ट करना है और एडजस्ट करने से पहले इसका मैंने वज़न करना है. वज़न जो है ना मुझे चाहिए इसका 420 से 440 के अंदर, तो इसका इस वक्त 433 आ गया वज़न.
That's the perfect weight for a FIFA-approved ball, which can sell for over $100 in the US, more than the monthly wages of some workers who make these balls.
हम लोग 100% एक्सपोर्ट ओरिएंटेड कंपनी हैं और पूरी दुनिया में हम फुटबॉल इस वक्त सेल कर रहे हैं. हम फीफा के लाइसेंसी हैं और टॉप क्वालिटी फीफा प्रो क्वालिटी प्रो बॉल हम अपनी फैक्ट्री में बनाते हैं जो ज़्यादातर जर्मनी में, स्पेन, हॉलैंड, बेल्जियम में फ़रोख्त होता है.
Ahead of the last World Cup in 2018, Pakistan exported over 37 million footballs across the globe. Until today, the industry remains a major source of income, with at least 1,000 football factories in Sialkot alone, employing nearly 60,000 people. But during the pandemic, many closed down.
फुटबॉल की डिमांड कोरोना की वजह से बहुत कम हुई है क्योंकि प्लेग्राउंड्स बंद हैं, मैचेस नहीं हो रहे, लोगों को अट्रैक्शन नहीं है, उनके पास खेलने की जगह नहीं है, तो नेचुरली जो बायर्स हैं उन्होंने भी ऑलमोस्ट 70% तक जो प्रोडक्शन है वो कट कर दी थी.
But Wasim has been looking out for his workers.
1.5 से 2 महीने तकरीबन 3 महीने से घर रहे हैं. तरफा मसानों ने बोला कि माले ने दिया सा परेशानी वाली कोई गल नहीं सी बनी जानी.
These days, Bola Gema has its eyes on the prize, the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. It has already started manufacturing balls ahead of the event, but before they are exported, the footballs go through one last stress test.
कम से कम 2000 शूटर लगाते हैं, फिर इसको देखते हैं इसकी सिलाई तो नहीं टूटी, वैक्सिंग तो नहीं पड़ी, या बाल डी शेप तो नहीं हुआ.
Machines then deflate the balls so that they can be easily packed and shipped off. And even as the pandemic drags on, Wasim hopes that the football industry will bounce back.
और अभी देखने में आ रहा है कि बाहर भी हमारे कस्टमर्स ने और जो क्लाइंट है उसने रियलाइज़ कर लिया है कि कोरोना के साथ हमें प्रिवेल करना है, तो अब हमारे पास नई इंक्वायरी आना शुरू हो गई है और हम उम्मीद कर रहे हैं कि जो कोरोना डिस्पाइट ऑफ द कोरोना पेंडेमिक हमें ऑर्डर्स जो हैं वो मिलना शुरू हो जाएंगे और क्वांटिटी जो हमारी 70% तक कम हुई थी वो ग्रेजुअली बेहतर होना शुरू हो जाएगी और हमें फैक्ट्री बंद करने की नौबत पे नहीं जाना पड़ेगा.
If all goes according to plan, this wood will be cut, shaped, and scraped into one of the most expensive cricket bats. And while making a high-end bat is labour-intensive, the real reason they cost so much? English willow. English willow bats are considered the cream of the crop, associated with star players like India's Surya Kumar Yadav and MS Dhoni.
No professional player will use anything but English willow.
The highest bats nowadays go for even up to $1,000.
That's why police in India have cracked down on counterfeiters trying to pass off bats made with less desirable wood. So why are English willow bats the top choice for pro cricketers? And why are they so expensive?
When we check the ping, see, you won't know in one day what the sound is. We have been working from like more than 25-30 years to understand the sound.
The bat he's holding is called the Gunther. It's English willow and it costs around $1,000.
It is most expensive because of the quality of wood, the best quality selection of wood, the grains, the ping, the shape.
But developing the best quality wood takes a long time and a lot can go wrong. The perfect tree for a cricket bat grows straight and slow, resulting in many grains close together in the wood. A tree that grows fast, on the other hand, will have fewer grains further apart. A bat made from wood that grows too fast will be lighter and softer, and it typically needs to be knocked in or played with a lot to harden it. The harder the bat, the further players can hit the ball. Most pro cricket players prefer tight-grained bats since more compact wood offers high performance from the start. The process begins halfway around the world, in a forest in England. Oliver Wright spends most of his time outside inspecting trees for J.S. Wright. The company supplies the wood for about 75% of the world's English willow cricket bats. An English willow tree is ready to be cut down when it reaches 60 inches in circumference, which takes an average of 15 years.
So roughly, if you were to hug the tree, if you can just about touch your fingers, depending on how long your arms are, then it's near enough ready.
Side shoots need to be trimmed twice a year to prevent knots from appearing in the wood. There's also the risk of a tree rotting from within if it gets too much water. And pests and diseases can ruin the bark.
But you can see how all the bark's coming off. Dead.
Once the trees reach the sawmill, the goal is to carve as many bats as possible from each one. This starts with cross-cutting the logs into 28-inch pieces with a chainsaw. Then splitting these pieces into smaller slices called clefts. Each cleft will become a cricket bat.
It all depends on how it looks inside the tree. If it's rotten, we'll get slightly less. If it's nice and clean, we'll get slightly more.
Average tree is about 40 bats per tree. The record here is about 700 out of one tree, and it was a huge tree. Yeah, huge tree.
Jeremy Ruggles is a director at J.S. Wright. He's been with the company since he was 18.
No, not very good at cricket, no. I love watching it, but I'm no good at playing it. You have to split them this way, so the grain goes through the bat to give it the strength. The grain can't go across the bat, it has to go from front to back, which is why it's split like cutting a cake.
At this stage, workers note any damage to the wood that might affect how it's graded later on.
So this is damage. This has been hit, struck by lightning or hit by something, hit by a tractor, or it stopped growing for a year, then started again. And you can see this is a good quality one. There's no damage or anything in it. It's a little bit of redwood, which is good.
One of the most important steps of the process is identifying what's known as the face of the cleft. This will be the part of the bat that strikes the ball, and the part the buyer focuses on in the shop.
It's looking which is going to be the prettiest, which side has the least amount of colour. The straightest grain is what you want, less colour and no knots. So whichever side looks nicer, that is the side the face is made. Once the face is decided and sawn, you can't change your mind.
Both of the ends are then covered in a special petroleum-based wax.
It's about 10 millimetres on, just to reduce the splitting.
The quality of a cricket bat isn't based on just the type of wood, but also its grade. At J.S. Wright, grades range from 1 to 20, with 1 being the best. Bruce Arthey is doing the initial grading. He's been working with J.S. Wright for 48 years.
So this is how we grade things. We take the bat off there, we crush the back of it, we'd look at the grain of the bat like that, and these are quite nice straight grains. They're quite uniform. There's not much colour down the side, so I would put that into a 2 because it's just got a couple of little blemishes on the back like that, so that would make a 2, in my opinion.
The sorted clefts are stacked and dried in both the open air and a kiln to remove any moisture.
You can't rush this process. If you rush it, you get splits and you get heavy clefts. So this one in my left hand is a younger tree, but it's still beautiful, straight, no blemishes. One in my right hand's an older tree with more grains. This is what professional players like, the narrow grains, but it won't last as long as the younger tree with the wider grains.
JS Wright ships its processed and graded clefts all over the world. It's been supplying Serene Sports in India for about 50 years.
I've known Jatin Serene since he was a young lad. Hopefully I'll be dealing with his son one day.
Serene Sports makes 500 to 800 bats each day with the clefts it receives from JS Wright. One bat takes 24 to 36 hours from start to finish and will touch 8 or 9 different hands. The process starts with smoothing out the clefts and cutting them down to size. A V-shape is also cut into one end with a bandsaw. This is where the handle will go. While the base of the bat is made from English willow, the handle is made from cane that Serene Sports imports from Singapore. Each piece of cane has layers of rubber inside for shock absorption. The cane is smoothed down and then inserted into the V. Each handle is glued in place and it takes about 16 hours to dry. Workers use tools like a planer and an adze to carve the bat's basic shape and make it more lightweight. A cricket bat is flat on the face and curved at the back. It's typically thicker toward the centre, or the sweet spot, where it will make contact with the ball. The face of the bat also needs to be compressed, since the English willow is so soft in its raw form. Each bat goes through a mechanical process like this one, which compacts and hardens the wood grain. Jeremy says this is one of the most important stages for ensuring the bat performs as expected.
If you didn't compress it at all, the ball would hardly go anywhere when you hit the ball with the bat. The face has to be compressed, and every bat maker does it their own way.
Finally, workers finish the handle by tightly winding a string around it and gluing a rubber grip on top. The bats are then sanded and polished.
In this section you can have a look. These are the ready finished bats. The bats are ready now to go.
High-end Serene Sports English willow bats can sell for over $1,000. And as with many other expensive products, fakes are a problem. Counterfeiters often use cheaper wood like Indian Kashmir willow and try to pass it off as English willow. Kashmir willow is heavier than English willow and typically more yellowish-brown in colour. But police in India have been cracking down on illicit operations involving counterfeit bats over the past few years.
There are many people who will sell a Kashmir willow bat with an English willow sticker. And then that's a totally criminal act what they are doing. They are trying to make fool of the customers.
Jatin says the best way to make sure you're getting a legit bat is by buying from a certified dealer. But despite the risk of fakes, Jatin says business is booming. And demand is increasing worldwide as cricket expands.
I've seen the cricket community grow in America. Now it's really starting to flourish.
Good start, good start.
It's a huge amateur community and now it's starting to get professionalized.
In 2024, the T20 Cricket World Cup is being played in the USA for the first time ever. And a new professional league called Major League Cricket held its first season in 2023. Sheikh has been playing cricket for 16 years, so he knows what the perfect bat looks and feels like.
Right now, people buy a lot of bats online, which is like going on a blind date. You really don't know what you're going to get, even though the brands try to promise a certain type of quality.
He says there are two ways to judge a bat: pick up and ping. Pick up is the feel of it in your hands and getting a sense of the weight.
You see, I'm constantly using my wrist and my forearm. So if a bat is too heavy or unbalanced, it just tires you out.
And then there's the ping test. The sound that Jatin was listening for, that most cricket pros know well.
A good English willow, when you hit it off the sweet spot, will make a beautiful sound. It's like that sound that you hear, that you know you hit the best part of the bat. Like, that's my sweet spot. That's why it's called the sweet spot.
But perhaps more than anything, cricket players look at aesthetics.
What makes a good bat, a high-grade English willow bat, is the cleanliness of it. There's no stains, it's just the lines are straight, especially in the sweet spot, so where the thickness of the bat is. You want the grain to be as clean as possible in that area.
But while these tightly grained, pricey English willow bats might be the most coveted by the pros, the trees that make these bats could soon be in short supply. According to Jeremy, quality trees are becoming rarer since they're growing faster with increasingly warm temperatures.
We're getting a longer growing season, so it's growing right up until probably November now. So it's growing more, so it's growing wider grains.
But he says wider grain bats aren't necessarily worse. They might just require a bit more use before they're on the same level of play.
You ask a player, he'll say, yes, the narrow grain one hits the ball better, but we've had tests done with bat makers making bats from wide grain. The ping is the same. It's all in the player's head. Some people always want the best, don't they? It's like motor cars, isn't it? You've got your Rolls Royce and you've got your Fords. You know, it's the way it goes in life.
Hi, my name is Jordan O'Shea. I'm a groundskeeper in professional football. Today, I'm going to guide you through the process of deep cleaning and preparing an NFL field for the Super Bowl.
I started groundskeeping for the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum and USC in 2016. From there, I went on to SoFi Stadium in 2021. When I found out the Super Bowl was coming to SoFi Stadium, it was very exciting to know that I would have the opportunity to be a part of such a big event. When you're working in a higher scale setting, such as professional football, there are a lot more fine details that go into all the planning and the execution when it comes to events and preparation, as well as cleanup. The first step to preparing the field for the Super Bowl is removing the paint from the previous game. So the machine that we use to clean the field is called a P-Rex, and what it does is there are brushes with very strong bristles in a circular shape that go down and scrub the paint off after we spray down a solution. We have somebody driving each and every one, and there are a few out there on the field after the game ends. Once the paint is starting to break up and be liquid, there's a vacuum that sucks the excess paint into a tank. These machines have something that sprays the tires in order to remove the paint from them, so there's no tracking. And that way we don't get paint in spots that we don't want it. When it's time to get new brushes and drain the tank, then we drive into our wash station. We start the cleaning process of the P-Rex. So right now we're removing the used brushes, spraying them off to get all the paint off, storing them off to the side so they can dry, and putting a new brush onto each P-Rex in order to send it back out and start cleaning again. It's time to fill up the tanks with water and the paint removing solution. We dump the tank that filters the rubber out of the used paint, and then from there, we dispose of the paint. So the brushes on the P-Rex go down onto the turf and spin as well as the operator drives the machine back and forth in order to remove paint from a certain area mixed with the solution. I'd say the removal process can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. We just keep going until we don't see any more paint on the field, and it's good to go and ready for the next paint day. Now that we've finished removing all the paint from the field and it's clear to go for the next paint day, we can start the process of painting. The process of painting for the Super Bowl is different from any other game because there is a whole other crew that is also involved in the painting. So the preparation process for the Super Bowl starts at least 2 weeks ahead of the actual game. When painting for the Super Bowl, there are different logos that we've never used before, new stencils, so we have to map out where everything goes and measure the spots for these specific stencils. That may be in a spot on the field that has never been painted before. So while we paint these logos, we want the lines and edges to be straight. We have straight edges and we have flimsy boards that can be set on specific spots in order to prevent the paint from getting into a spot that it's not supposed to be in. So after we get done painting, it's time to clean the equipment. These boards we take to the back washroom and we use solution to get the paint off. So this paint board is caked in paint with multiple layers, so we need to spray, scrape, and use solution until we get it all off. Paint does splatter, paint does get everywhere, so you need to make sure the entire machine is clean. It takes a little while in order to get all the paint off, but once it's clean, it looks great and it's worth it. So it's important to clean the paint machines because, one, you want to take care of the equipment that you use, make sure that it can last as long as you would like it to last. You don't want paint buildup in certain areas on the machine because then that can start to limit the functionality of the machine. Watching the confetti rain down on the field is surreal, and I would not trade that feeling for the world until I realized that we were going to have to clean it up. So to clean this confetti up, we're using as many blowers as we have in order to bring all the confetti to one side of the field in one area so we can shovel it up and pour it in the trash can, remove, and just keep doing it over and over and over until it's all gone. Once the confetti is cleaned up, we use a machine called a litter cat to remove excess debris from the field. The litter cat is part of our daily maintenance, but it is important to use it after the games as well because there are a lot of pieces of debris that get onto the field. The first part of the machine is going to suck up the lighter debris, and the back end of the machine is a magnet that will remove all the metal from the field. When we're removing the debris out of the litter cat, we tend to find a lot of screws from players' helmets, small pieces of metal, small pieces of plastic, as well as sunflower seed shells. My favorite thing about being a groundskeeper is the team aspect. I work with a lot of great people. It's fun to be around them and to work towards a common goal of making sure a playing surface is working great for something of such magnitude. Being a part of the Super Bowl process is something that I wouldn't trade for the world. It was a surreal feeling, and I'm excited to watch this year's Super Bowl.
At Honma's factory in Sakata, Japan, there are roughly 200 specialized craftspeople. But the most skilled are called meisho, or master craftsmen, and there are only 33 with this title. To earn it, a craftsperson has to train for 5 years, then pass an exam. A meisho has the ability to create nuanced elements of a golf club that can be customized down to the finest details.
性能を出るために坂田工場ではそれは最高の材料を使って最高の設計を行うということになります。それとは別にやっぱり見た目の機能美を充実させる、ラグジュアリーのクラブに仕上げる。
For example, The 5-star model of Honma's Beres clubs includes materials like platinum and 24-karat gold. But before those luxury flourishes are ever added, Honma sets itself apart in its modelling process. All golf clubs are split into 3 main parts: the head, the shaft and the grip. Creating a master model is the first and most important step in producing a club's head. Satoru Hatanaka is using a more traditional material to create the template for a driver. While historically, drivers were made of persimmon wood, today they're made with lightweight carbon and titanium. But at Honma, the model the driver is based on is still made from persimmon. Why? So craftsmen like Satoru, who has been making driver models for 35 years, can sculpt the head of the club by hand.
やはり形状のバランスであったり、やはりこのホーゼルからフェースにかけてのつなぎであったり、そういった曲線美がやはり結構難しいですね。手で作ることによってコンピューターでは出ない曲線美を作ってるんで。
The head of an iron needs a different process. Master craftsman Takumi Sato is making the model for a Beres Series 7 iron. When complete, this iron can cost over $1,000 on its own.
まず私たちって本場のクラブっていうのはまず先に目で確かめないけど、実際自分たちで目で見て何回も修正して、この形だったらいい、この形状、この大きさだったらいいっていうのを自分たちで目で確かめられる。
His model will be used to manufacture the final irons, which are crafted from top-of-the-line carbon steel. Satoru and Takumi are able to visualize what the shape of the final club will look like, but they can't see everything. For this, Honma needs to bring in a different kind of expert.
職人がマスターを作った後のそこからデジタル化、データを取る作業と、でそこから CAD に起こす、そして内部の設計を行う。
CAD, or computer-aided design, allows specialists to design the parts of a club that a human cannot see on the outside. CAD creates a 3D scan of the head of the club. Then, specialists will determine the thickness of carbon and titanium needed and run simulations to test the club's integrity.
つけて、でどこにどのくらいの応力が分布するのかっていうのをここで確認します。でこれをすることによって、弱いところ、一番最初に亀裂が入るのはどこかっていうものをあらかじめ見つけることによって。
Meanwhile, in a different part of the Sakata factory, craftspeople create the club's shafts. And while other golf club manufacturers often outsource the shaft, Honma makes every one of theirs in-house.
自社でカーボンシャフトを作ろうよと、一年復帰して酒田工場を作るわけですね。
The shafts of the Beres clubs are designed to recover as quickly as possible to their original shape after swinging. The shaft begins with a strong material called high modulus carbon fibre. This is the highest grade of carbon fibre, often used to make professional racing bicycles. This is cut and wrapped around a metal rod called a mandrel.
円柱に見えますけれども、テーパー部分が変わっている変則テーパーになっている。急激に巻いてしまうと繊維が傷ついて折れてしまうことがあるんで、弾性率の高い、シートを巻く際には徐々にゆっくり、やっぱりこれも人の加減が必要で。
Even at this stage of the process, the handmade elements of design are highly customizable.
シャフトの、フレックスを調整するシートにキックポイントを作るシートだったり、素材も厚さ、薄さ、種類もいろいろありまして。
And an expert human eye is required for every last detail, including the paint.
機械では出せない、微妙な色の変化を手作業だとできると思います。 はい、これは同じ塗料なんですけども、塗料の引くスピードでこれだけ色が変わります。
Honma invented its very own pull-through method for this step, a unique skill that allows craftspeople to have total control over the outcome of the shaft's appearance.
その同じゴルフセットはセットものなんで、同じ色に合わせないとセットにならないので、引くスピード、一定のスピードで何本も引くのが難しいところですね。
This method isn't all about looks either.
それでやっぱりしごきで塗った方が鼓膜が薄い、機械で塗るより薄いので、そういう重量関係の部分もあるのかなと思います。
Once every last detail of the club is perfected, there is one more step that must be done just right. If the assembly goes wrong, the work of the previous master craftsman could be for nothing.
難しい部分ですか、接着剤を使ってますので、速乾ボンドを使ってますので、間違いがないように、一瞬で形を決めてしまうというところが難しいですね。一瞬で向きを変えるっていうか、これを1日ずっと通してやってますので、集中力を切らさないということが。
When a shaft is complete, it is balanced and tested to make sure that the spine or stiff inner core is set to a 6 o'clock angle on every club. But there's still room for customization up until the very end.
クラブ組み立てると、それなりに組み立てられるんですけれども、少しフラットにしてくださいとか、少しフェースの角度をもうちょっとつけたりとか、そこを刺し方で調整、そんな感じですね。振りやすくしてくださいとか、そんな感じで調整が可能なんで。
To make sure the measurements are exactly right, Honma uses a robotic arm to test out their clubs.
今でちょっと真ん中ら辺でしょうね。
基本とでも同じ。
ちょっと真ん中っぽいですね。
Honma Golf started in 1958 as a driving range in Tsurumi, Yokohama. At that time, most of the golf clubs sold in Japan were foreign clubs. In 1982, they started manufacturing their own clubs at the Sakata factory in response to domestic demand.
やはり日本人の体型が平均身長がすごく欧米の平均身長と比べると日本は低いと思うんですね。日本人に合うクラブを作りたいっていうのがそもそもの始まりだったらしいです。
Around 2015, Honma made a push for popularity in the North American market, but the company's clientele in Japan will always have the added advantage of customizing clubs at the Sakata factory, and Japan's pro golfers know it well.
一番喜びっていうのはやはり自分の作ったクラブがプロが使ってそれで優勝したことがやっぱり一番の喜びですね。
With every shaving and small incision, master artisans turn these trunks of wood into 32 hand-carved chess pieces. You can pick up a plastic set for $20, but a wooden set certified for the World Chess Championship costs $500. Much of the value of a high-quality set comes down to how well just one piece is made. The knight. There are less than 10 people who are trusted to carve the knights for the official World Chess Championship sets. So how are these chessmen made? And why are they so expensive? At this factory in Amritsar, India, artisans carve the pieces for the official World Chess Championship sets. And the factory produces only 250 of them each year. Artisans train over 4 to 5 months, learning to masterfully shape each figure. These small blocks of boxwood were once large trunks, dried for 3 to 6 months, cut down, and shaped to the necessary size. Each block is attached to a lathe, which turns the block rapidly before artisans begin to carve. Artisans use particular steel tools, called cutters,
designed to make the proper cuts and overall shape of a chessman. Once the cutter makes contact, it immediately changes the wood, and any slight misstep could ruin the final shape of the piece. No piece is more difficult to produce than the knight. While other pieces are carved in just a few minutes, a single knight takes 2 hours to produce. Less than 10 people are trained to craft knights for these championship sets.
सर ये घोड़ा बनाने ਨੂੰ 10 साल हो गए सर ये बड़ी मेहनत से काम सिखाया ਜਾਂਦਾ 5-6 साल हो गए काम सीखने टाइम लगा.
Compare that to the 4 to 5 months it takes an artisan to learn how to carve the other chess pieces. But unlike these other chessmen, the knight isn't an abstract representation of a medieval figure. It's designed to look like a realistic horse head. It's the most detailed of all the pieces. Each carving is intentional, from the hair on a knight's tail to the curve of its neck.
ਇਹਦਾ ਚੀਜ਼ ਗਲਾ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਪੂਰੀ ਗਲਾਈ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਵੀ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਇਹ ਵਾਲੀ ਸਾਈਡਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗਦਾ.
The quality of the final piece largely depends on the skill of the artisan. A top quality knight must be completely symmetrical.
ਪੇ ਪੂਰਾ ਰੇਖਮਾਲ ਵੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਠੀਕ ਲਾਇਆ ਕੰਨ ਵੀ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਨਾਸਾਂ ਵੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਵਾ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ. ਚਲੋ ਇਹ ਆ ਇਹ ਬਰਾਬਰ ਦੇ ਜਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਨਾ ਇੱਕ ਘੋੜਾ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਪਈ ਹੈ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਜਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਦੇਖ ਲਿਓ.
But it's just as important that all 4 knights in the set look totally uniform. Otherwise, the set altogether won't be nearly as valuable. According to the House of Staunton, a large manufacturer of chess sets, a set of finely carved knights can represent up to 50% of the total cost of the chessman. The other chessmen have specific height and width requirements, designed by architect Daniel Whale. The king must be the tallest, at 95 millimeters, and have a base that's 39 millimeters wide, the largest of them all. The pieces have defining characteristics, like the king's crown or the refined jewel at the top of the queen's coronet. These distinct features require more time and effort for the carver. The king's crown in a championship set should have 8 small cuts and be slightly rounded along the edges. Compare this king to the king of a regular set, which has a much simpler, straight-edge design. Pieces with even simpler designs than that, like a rook, take these artisans 7 times longer to produce compared to regular chess sets.
If the chessman is like of a championship set, then we are only able to make 25 to 30 kings in a day because it's a very special design. If we are talking about making chessmen for tournament players which are used in vast quantities, then a carver is even able to make 200 to 250 chess kings in a day.
But the design of these chess pieces isn't solely aesthetic. It can actually affect the outcome of a game. Each piece must be the correct height, the king being the tallest, followed by the queen, bishop, knight, rook, and pawn. The detailed features are also essential, by lowering the chances a player will make a mistake.
If you see in medieval ages, the chessmen were not really in a good form. The chessmen were round, some of them were spiral, the knights were not even carved in the shape of a knight. In this form you can see the kings properly, the knight very distinguished, the bishop has a mitre cut, the queen's is very sharp. So you can easily distinguish between all the 6 pieces.
This is known as the Staunton design, the only style allowed in international competition today. Pieces used in the championship match have an electronic coil, making it possible to track and broadcast each player's move. A full set with this tracking component costs about $700 more. The weight of each piece, along with a felt bottom, are 2 more significant factors that affect the game. Both make the chessmen easier to use, effectively upping their value.
If the pieces are properly weighted, then they do not fall while you are moving the pieces on the boards, and also it gives a very nice and a special feel to a chessman.
Some chessmen must be dyed black and dried for 10 days. All of the pieces are buffed and polished 3 times before they're assessed for quality. chess has been played for over 1,000 years, with some form of the game first appearing in India around the 6th century. Over the past 2 centuries, high-level competitions have drawn international interest in the game. Today, tournaments continue to keep the game popular, as do displays of these competitions in the media. The release of the limited series The Queen's Gambit on Netflix sent sales of chess sets skyrocketing in November 2020. And although this demand is a positive for the industry, it also poses a challenge to chess producers like Aditya.
It is very difficult to find good quality skilled carvers for manufacturing chessmen. And even after 4 to 5 months, 6 months, we don't know if the carver would be good enough to carve nice chessmen. So nobody wants to spend so much of time and realize that he was not able to carve the desired quality of chessmen.
Without enough experienced carvers, these sets could become more difficult to produce. And it's fair to expect that $500 sets like these, and similarly hand-carved ones, could get even pricier in the future.
Fighting in mud, training for hours, and going years without seeing family. This is kushti, a traditional form of Indian wrestling.
ऐसा है कि मतलब जैसे देखो रेसलर बनने के लिए पूरा मतलब सारा कुछ त्यागना पड़ता है.
Mauli Shamdade left his rural hometown when he was 15 to join this academy in Kolhapur. Today, he lives and trains at the century-old Gangavesh Talim. This sport is a way out of poverty for many farming families. In just over a decade, Mauli has become one of the top fighters here, earning up to $4,000 from one competition. But India has shifted to favor wrestling on the mat over mud, and the tradition that goes back 2,500 years is dwindling. So what does it take to be one of India's mud wrestlers? And how is this traditional sport still standing? Becoming a kushti fighter is all about discipline. Mauli wakes up at 3:55 a.m. every day. He starts his training sessions at dawn with some of the other 200 wrestlers who live here. They use their own and each other's body weight to build strength.
क्यों सारा कुछ लगा के सारी मतलब हर चीज़ की जान लगा के मतलब प्रैक्टिस भी करनी पड़ती है और हर चीज़ मतलब जान लगा के कुश्ती करनी पड़ती है.
They train 6 days a week, often under coach Vishwas Hargule. Mauli has been working with him since he joined the academy.
मतलब सारा कुछ ध्यान रखा जैसे मतलब अपने बच्चे को ध्यान रखते ना वैसा ध्यान रखा उन्होंने मेरा.
Vishwas has trained over 1,000 kids, and he doesn't go easy on them.
उसको मतलब लाड़ प्यार से नहीं, फिर मेहनत होने के बाद उससे लाड़ प्यार करो, वो चलेगा. लेकिन मेहनत करते वक्त अगर तुम लाड़ प्यार करोगे तो बच्चा मतलब नहीं करेगा.
In the afternoon, they hit the mud pit. Wrestlers warm up by preparing the dirt floor. They clear away stones and smooth it out. The dirt is mixed with turmeric, lemon, and salt to help wrestlers' injuries heal faster. It's swapped out every couple of years and sent to smaller talims. Many see the red soil as sacred because without it, they wouldn't have a career.
इसके कारण यहाँ की मिट्टी मिल गई मतलब भाग्य खुल गया बोलते हैं.
Before a match, Mauli warms up his joints with oil and starts planning.
1-1.5 घंटा पहले जो स्टडी होती है कुश्ती की जिसके साथ कुश्ती है मतलब जैसे कि मेरा कोई अपोजिट है उसके बारे में ये क्या करता है ये कौन से दाव लगाता है मैं उस पर कौन से दाव लगाऊं.
Wrestlers cover themselves in dirt at the start of each match to create more friction between their bodies. This is just practice, so there's no winner or loser. But Mauli still gives it his all.
पहलवानों का ऐसा है कि उसकी मंजिल कभी पूरी नहीं हुई.
The goal is to pin the opponent's shoulders to the soil. They use moves similar to other forms of wrestling, like locks and throws. Mowley and his opponent reapply the soil as they sweat to get a better grip. With their feet planted in the dirt, wrestlers move slowly. A real match can last as long as 1 hour. By the end, they're soaked in mud.
कुछ नहीं ऐसा ना वो तो बढ़िया फील होता है क्योंकि हम आदत सी है मिट्टी की तो कुछ नहीं लगता ऐसे तो बढ़िया लगती है.
Mowley isn't done for the day when the practice match is over.
बॉडी तो पूरी थकी हुई है लेकिन अभी भी बाकी है थोड़ा सा वर्कआउट वो पूरा करेंगे.
Mud wrestling has roots that date back to at least the 5th century BC. It evolved out of an ancient form of Indian wrestling, mixed with Persian martial arts. The sport thrived in Kolhapur at the turn of the 20th century. The district's ruler, Shahu Maharaj, was a fan of the art and built talims all over the region, including this one. But mud fighting saw a shift about 15 years ago, when India started prioritizing mat wrestling. The government wanted its athletes to compete internationally, so many talims had to adapt and started investing in mats, including this one.
कैसे है मैट और मट्टी मैट पे तो ज़रूरी ही है मतलब इस वक्त में मैट पे ज़रूरी है क्योंकि मैट पे करोगे तुम ओलंपिक तक जा सकते हो.
But here they still practice in the traditional mud pits because they believe it makes them better wrestlers on the mat too.
कैसा है कि आज मतलब हर गेम में कुछ ना कुछ चेंज होता ही रहता है तो जो पहले वाला अपना है वो रखना ही चाहिए.
Mud wrestling competitions, called dangals, still draw crowds in Kolhapur. And they always open with a ceremony, playing traditional Indian horns and drums. The cash prizes for this tournament depend on how much money the dangal organizers were able to raise from local fans. Young wrestlers take home just a small part of the pool, sometimes around $1 per win. But older, more experienced fighters can walk away with up to $1,000. That's why low-income families often send their kids to live at talims, hoping they'll get good enough to make a living. Fighters also live and train for free, but there's little comfort. Most of them sleep in shared dorms that can fit up to 50 people at a time. And with packed schedules every day, they rarely get the chance to visit home. Mowley has gone up to 4 years without seeing his family.
कि घर वालों की याद आएगी मैं घर चला जाऊंगा तो मेरा वो टारगेट जो बना हुआ है वो पूरा नहीं होगा.
But the wrestlers find family in each other.
घर वालों की तरह जैसे भाई भाई रहते ना वैसे रहते हम सारे यहाँ पे क्योंकि जैसे एक घर ही है हमारा ये सारा पूरा कंपटीशन के टाइम कंपटीशन बाकी टाइम हम एक भाई के जैसे रहते हैं सारे लोग.
Mowley's dedication has paid off. He says he earns up to $55,000 in a 4-month season. It would take a typical farming family over 35 years to make that much. Getting to that level takes a lot of time and practice, which is why kids start young.
यहाँ रेसलिंग ऐसी है कि बड़ी उम्र में नहीं हो सकती.
Some of the youngest are here for just the summer, so the talim is especially crowded this time of year. But during the height of the pandemic, it looked completely different. Wrestlers couldn't make any money for 2 years when competition stopped.
मतलब उस टाइम तो ऐसा लग रहा था कि पहलवानी खत्म हो जाएगी क्योंकि जो गरीब घर के बच्चे थे उनके पास पैसा नहीं था वो तो मतलब अखाड़ा छोड़ चले गए थे और उस टाइम सारे अखाड़े बंद थे.
Wrestlers are responsible for their own food and expenses, and those costs can add up, especially with the diets they have to maintain.
जितना प्रोटीन बॉडी को मिलेगा वो बॉडी उतनी आगे प्रैक्टिस के लिए ये देगी सपोर्ट देगी.
Most days they eat chicken, lamb, and eggs. But today is Saturday, so they're making vegetarian dal.
क्योंकि शनिवार यहाँ पे हमारे यहाँ पे मतलब हनुमान जी का मानते हैं उसका व्रत भी रखते हैं शनिवार को इसके कारण वो शनिवार नहीं खाते हम.
Mowley is now a veteran at this talim. mentoring the younger wrestlers. But he still remembers his first day here.
बहुत कंपटीशन था, बहुत मतलब आगे बहुत सारे पहलवान थे मेरे आगे, बहुत बड़े बड़े पहलवान थे, उनको देख के ही मुझे मतलब मैं बनने की ये हो गया.
Now he's treated like a celebrity.
और मिट्टी वालों पहलवानों को ही पसंद करती है और उनको भी पहचानती है ज़्यादा. बढ़िया लगता है क्योंकि जो मैंने प्रैक्टिस की है, वर्जिश की है, उसका ये हो गया लगता है ऐसे.
Mowgli hopes to keep wrestling for another decade, and he believes the ancient tradition of Kushti isn't going anywhere.
नहीं तो मतलब जैसे पुरान मतलब जैसे पहले से ही मिट्टी वाली कुश्ती है और बहुत देर तक मिट्टी वाली कुश्ती चलेगी.
Every game day, chefs at the University of Michigan's football stadium whip up food for over 100,000 hungry fans.
Named the Big House because it is the largest stadium in the U.S.
That's Chris Carr. He's in charge of a culinary team of 35 cooks.
There's an enormous amount of pressure on everybody, horribly stressful. Everything we do is based on time.
And they have to make every game count.
You know, a restaurant is open 365 days a year. We have to make all of our money, really, in 7 days.
The stadium aims to earn $1 million a game, just from food and beverage.
Game day goes quick. So if you ain't ready, then you'll be behind.
But that's not easy in a stadium that's almost a century old. There's only one concourse and one elevator to move an entire game's worth of food.
No. Usually it's about an hour away.
Here's how chefs race against the clock to feed football's biggest crowd. We're just 24 hours away from kickoff, and this is when the action picks up.
So the goal on a Friday before game day is always that everything is ready to roll.
Deliveries from the main kitchen come in on the service level. Chris says this one truck holds as much as $20,000 worth of food.
I'm sure he's got multiple pallets coming in. So it never stops, we just keep on going.
With your legs.
On a Friday like this, everyone's job is to get as much cooking done as possible.
You don't want to have to walk in on game day and then do a whole lot of production. You just want to just go, go, go.
In one area, they're setting up veggie platters and prepping salads.
So stuff that can't sit for a long period of time without being compromised.
They'll grill mark hot dogs and burger patties.
It's quick. If you can do it quick without dumping them all, it works really well.
I'm always teaching up for game day though, so I'm a big room raised, so.
Chris handles salmon rosettes for salads headed to the private suites.
Can't be done too far in advance. It is fresh fish. You always have to make a little bit of spare. So if there's not one that's exactly the way I want it to look, I've got ones that I can work with instead.
Then chefs bring the food to the cooler to load onto carts.
There he is hiding back there. All right, there's your rosettes.
This is an organizational nightmare. Each of these carts ends up at one of over 70 kitchens and prep areas around the stadium. So chefs run through checklists.
Relish was 11. French onion is 9.
To make sure the right dishes end up on the right cart. They also label each cart with the item and quantity.
That way we know that we've got everything where it's got to be.
He's getting nervous.
He's had 400 carts to build, so.
I know, right?
In the main kitchen, hot food gets labeled with a color for each concession stand.
And then where's the red? The red is actually pink. We don't do red here because it's Ohio State.
They'll move as much as they can on Friday before the concourse fills up with fans.
That way the food's up, ready to go.
Chris heads out for the day around 6 p.m.
When we walk into those doors tomorrow morning, they all know what's important. A couple minutes to 1 outside the Big House. Time to fire it all up. Chef coming in. Chef coming in. I announce myself when I come in. The stadium itself will be swept by bomb dogs throughout the course of the evening. The last thing you want to do is walk into a dark, quiet kitchen and startle a bomb dog. All right.
Chef Chris turns on all the equipment and runs over the plan for the day.
Then when we walk in on Saturday, all we got to do is fire and go.
By 3 a.m., his sous chefs start rolling in.
So far, so good. Now we're just moving into the next phases.
By 8 a.m., they're frying the chicken tenders, and they've got to move fast.
I'll go through 40 cases of chicken tenders each game just for the sweet level alone.
Chefs also slice up meat for shawarma and tacos. Just like in the main kitchen, pizza preppers are racing against the clock.
You can say the challenges of trying to make 6,000 pizzas in 4 hours.
Buddy's is one of the stadium's newest vendors. Its Detroit-style pizzas are made off-site, but have to be cooked, cut, and boxed in the stadium on game day.
Just like the field, right? You gotta have a great team. We're just trying to go out there and put on a good performance. Come home with a dub.
Buddy's, like every other kitchen in the stadium, feels the squeeze from a lack of space. The University of Michigan's Big House was built in 1927. While expansions through the years have added more stands, suites, and towers, the bones of the stadium have stayed the same.
So typically, most buildings are going to hold 50 to 80,000. You're going to have, a 20% no-show rate. The no-show rate here is maybe 5%. So we're getting over 100,000 people every single game.
It makes moving food a nightmare. There's only one tunnel to cart food along, and only one elevator.
I've been standing right here for about 30 minutes waiting on the elevator. We just stopped on floor 5. I don't know if they have to get out, for reasons like this, I gotta wait for them to stop on their floor, and then I get off on floor 2, so we gotta go back in the elevator and push these halfway across the stadium.
Banquet server Cameron Brennan walks up to 6 miles a game dropping off food. It's a trek he doesn't seem to mind.
If you got a little bit of spare time, you could take a glimpse at the game, I love it though, because I get to watch the football game, It's real cool. The elevator took like 40 minutes, man.
Finally, Cameron drops off his delivery upstairs.
Well, I guess this is where we part ways. Go blue, go blue.
This is the level with all the box suites. They come fully stocked with food and drinks.
So essentially, we get all the food, we bring it up, it comes up all nice and wrapped. We'll unwrap it, and then as my suites get here, I pull out their cold food and set it out nice for them.
Sarah Jacobus has been serving the same 4 box suites since 2014.
So we've got frittatas, fruits, goes with their beautiful parfaits. And then I find that people will eat these more if there's spoons in them, so it works out really nice. And it's kind of cute.
It's 2 hours before kickoff, and the gates open.
So once gates open, I begin walking the building.
That's Michael Jordan, a different Michael Jordan. He works for Sodexo Live, the catering company for Michigan Athletics. Since the Big House has so little room to move inside, Michael set up water stations and shipping container food stands outside.
It's really allowed us to expand our footprint of the stadium.
The new layout has been a huge success. Total food and drink transactions are up over 13% from last year, increasing the stadium's revenue by 11%. Michael says that's thanks in part to simpler menus and a better flow in the concourses. Constant communication on walkie-talkies also helps the team keep the food moving.
With 100,000 people with cell phones in the area, service just kind of drops to nothing.
Across the stadium, workers are scooping popcorn out of trash cans, prepping pretzels, and finishing burgers.
There's no playing catch-up when there's 100,000 people in the building.
By now, lines are starting to form.
We are a really busy stand. I don't know. They love it.
Hot dogs are the stadium's #1 seller. It moves about 10,000 of them each game. Concessions move quickly. Servers aim to get food to customers in under a minute. Speed helps the culinary team hit its $1 million sales target each game.
And that's just in food and beverage. We're still not serving alcohol in the stadium.
This year, the university has one fewer home game. That means it's set to miss out on nearly $9 million in ticket sales, which makes food earnings all the more important. New ordering systems have helped speed up some concessions. Self-checkout averages just 18 seconds a transaction, and it's helped this burger stand double sales this year. Now it's crunch time.
So about 15 minutes before kickoff will be our first really big push.
Staying here all day because they're all happy.
Finally, the action on the field kicks off. But the food doesn't stop rolling.
And then halftime is definitely our biggest push.
You're not walking around with this. You're mid. We score a touchdown, boom, popcorn goes flying. It's like shooting confetti out, but it's popcorn.
Michigan pulls off a win against Rutgers, but the Chefs' game day isn't over.
I tend to hang all the way through to the very bitter end. And once it gets to the end of the game, there's no leaving until they're all gone. So you're just in it.
It's not uncommon for staffers to pull 12-hour shifts.
I mean, a lot of them are here more than they're at home. It's amazing they keep coming back. Dempsey, don't smile like that.
Michael says that's why finding the right team is important.
It's hard to hire 700 people for an event. It's for 7 times a year.
About 500 of these workers are actually volunteers from local charities. Sodexo Live donates a percentage of food sales to their causes. The catering company pays only about 200 of them, including the chefs and servers. They make between $30 and $50 an hour. Chris does one final walkthrough of the now quiet suites.
Well, we've reached 3 o'clock. For me, I'm about 14 hours in on the day.
He's assessing waste.
Chili, they've gone through about half of it. The wings are gone. Handful of hot dogs, handful of veggie brats left. But when the day is done, the trash can never lies.
He'll use this info to tweak food ordering for the next game.
It's a giant stadium, and so you're going to have excess.
Volunteers pack up all the extra food to be donated to local pantries.
We're in the range of about 5,000 items a game of what they're picking up.
Then they gear up to come back in a few weeks and do it all over again.
I mean, I'd mark this one down as probably a solid B+, maybe an A-. Looking forward to the next 3 to go.
More than 215,000 people are expected to flock to Miami for America's biggest sporting event. And all of those fans come with big appetites.
We do 2 things here. We play and we eat.
That's Dayani De La Cruz, or Chef D, the executive chef of the Super Bowl. She's in charge of feeding everyone, from the fans to the players and performers. She runs an army of 3,000 culinary professionals, hustling day and night, leading up to the big game. But they're not just serving up stadium nachos. They're also whipping up complex dishes like porchetta and seafood paella, and they're doing it all against the clock, delivering meals across a stadium the size of, well, a football field.
We are living on this amazing adrenaline rush, and it's like a bomb just blew in the middle of the kitchen. It feels like we all go to war, we all fight our own battles, and at the end of the run, we come back and we tell the stories about how we made it.
So how do they feed all of football's biggest fans? This year, Miami's Hard Rock Stadium is hosting the big game. The stadium and its caterer Centerplate are no stranger to big events. But for Super Bowl 54, things are taken up a notch.
We are doubling the building and everything that we're doing so far.
50% more staff was brought in just for Super Bowl Sunday, including dishwashers, line cooks, inventory staff, and 35 chefs flown in from all over North America. But the staff has to think beyond the game. There are also press events, NFL executive dinners, and the fan experience at Miami Beach Convention Center, which means on top of the 65,000 fans squeezing into the stadium, the chefs are responsible for feeding an extra 150,000 people in just 1 week. While it wouldn't share an exact number, Centerplate does expect millions of dollars in sales for the Super Bowl alone. To get it all done, the culinary team began planning for this event nearly 4 years ago, but it all comes down to the 24 hours before the Super Bowl.
There is a system to the madness. I know people don't believe that, but it is. There is something behind it. So this is how we work Super Bowl. Everything is in order. We kind of have a system. We have orders. We have labels.
Inventory staff receives all incoming produce, starting 36 hours before game day. It's hustled into storage or divided into kitchen fridges. Chefs typically do most of the cooking from 7 kitchens in the stadium. But for Super Bowl Sunday, they had to wheel in 3 extra mobile kitchens and outsource cooking to local vendors in the Miami Beach Convention Center. Main kitchens crank out food for lounges, suites, and concession stands. And in those stands, the staff aims to keep the time between ordering your food and getting it in your hand at 45 seconds.
Now these, what we're doing is we pre-cook them and we'll finish them in the oven the day of the game. And we'll keep them in the hot boxes at temperature and then we'll serve them.
Kitchens are divided up into cold and hot sections. In the cold kitchen, they're throwing together dishes like wedge salads and ceviche. In hot, they're frying up heaps of plantains and chicken wings. Chefs line up rows of turkey sandwiches, labor over vats of lamb curry, and dish out gallons and gallons of baked beans for the sweets. Here, they'll be cooking 10,000 hot dogs alone.
A little bit weary, tons of fun though. I'm a football fan, so go 49ers.
Once cooked, all the food is rushed down the stadium's secret highway under the stands.
Sorry, I walk fast. Tell me if I'm going to slow down. We call this the belly of the beast. We are walking through what we call our area when it comes to food and beverage. I'm having a coffee macaroon so I can continue going. Anybody who walks on game day should have between 6 to 11 miles.
All this is in preparation for the biggest food rush, right before kickoff. Food heads up to one of the 85 concession stands and carts in the concourse. While some stands have small grills to finish up cooking, most rely on deliveries from downstairs whenever they get close to running out.
Let's just say that it doesn't happen often, but if it does, then somebody calls the radio and then somebody runs really fast.
But with the stadium's massive size and thousands of people clogging up the concourse, deliveries can be tough.
It's a big giant that moves on his own sometimes. Today, you might be selling all the flat pie pizza. Tomorrow, you might be selling all the burgers. So it's all about readjusting and making sure that we manage the expectation.
Upstairs, they're handling smaller tasks, but the same amount of food.
We are in what we call the cold side area for suites. Out of these 2 kitchens, we fit about 157 suites. Imagine 157 small restaurants. We are in the best kitchen at Hard Rock Stadium. Who is the second Super Bowl? We got two pioneers, 3.
Here, they're slicing up cheese and roasting racks on racks of mushrooms.
Imagine what you see here and cook for 1,600 people for me.
The team cranks out 400 different menu items on Super Bowl Sunday alone. And if one thing breaks, well...
If one oven breaks, it's like a domino effect. Something is going to fall behind. So you can't take anybody's for granted, especially in such a large operation like what we have here.
And in this game, the size is the biggest hurdle. At a regular restaurant for a regular day, you might order just 2 cases of lobster tails.
Instead of receiving 2 cases of lobster tail, you're receiving 3,000. We just smoked about 4,400, almost 5,000 pounds of pork butts. Right now, actually, I'm bringing about 9,000 cookies, which is crazy. I just called my vendor and I say, I need more cookies.
Luckily, Chef D can rely on others to help make the magic happen. She's hired 40 local vendors to churn out everything from 4,000 popsicles within a week to cake pops, cookies, and bundt cakes for the sweets.
Working 24 hours a day. I have 4 shifts right now. I have to rent extra refrigeration.
This is the founder of Pastries Art, a family-owned bakery in charge of all the desserts for the Super Bowl. And yes, she did get that call for those 9,000 cookies.
Chef D is super funny. We plan and get organized, and then she said, "Oh, by the way, Mama, just so you know, I may order a little bit more cookies." I'm like, "Okay, sure, no problem. How many more?" "I don't know, about 2,500 more." And I said, "Sure, Chef, no problem. I got it. And then when I hang up the phone, I'm like, "Oh my God, we have 2,500 more cookies."
It's Centerplate's 15th Super Bowl, but it's Chef D's first.
We are, all of us, bearing ourselves to thousands of fans out there. I always tell everybody on game day, find a little moment, and look down into the bowl and find yourself thinking, pat yourself in the back and say, I did that.